Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful Venus day if you're watching this on Friday. Otherwise, I hope wherever you are, from wherever you're listening from, you're having a beautiful day, or as I like to say, creating a beautiful day because you are the master of your creation. Okay, so this is an astro-healing or astro-recapitulation is another way to say it, but I didn't want to put that in the title because that sounds really long. You can let me know what you think. Should I change the title? Should it be astro-recapitulation? But we're also looking ahead in time too. We're looking at the transits of last week in a general sense to see what it is that we've been working through. So if you want to drop in the comments, if you're here live, I see some of you. Welcome. Thanks for spending this time with me. And how was last week for you? We've had a lot going on, and it's very Piscean. It's very Neptunian. It's very abstract and fluid and flowy. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have felt an absolute rainbow of feelings, a rainbow of emotions. It's some moments felt really wonderful, and then some moments were really, really hard. Yeah, some saying that they had a really tough week. Yeah, I even in my family, my husband had this really wild allergic reaction, and he has never in the about 9 years, 10 years that I've known him has had anything like that. And I was reflecting on how Neptune, and we're actually coming up to a Sun Neptune conjunction. That's going to be this Sunday, the March 13th. It's mystery illnesses. It's sometimes these weird full body things that happen that you're like, where did this come from? If you're asking if you have some sort of emotional sort of like, where did this come from? These big feelings or a physical illness, like where did this come from? Chances are that's related to Neptune. That's kind of Neptune's realm, mystery, a little bit confusing. It's a little bit foggy. It's like, why? Why is this happening? And that question, why is this happening? That's actually a really beautiful doorway. Matt Kahn, he's a spiritual teacher who I really, really love. Has helped me through many a tough time. He talks about in his book, Whatever Arises, love that. He talks about confusion as the doorway to clarity. It's like when you're in confusion, whether it's body confusion, mind confusion, emotional confusion, mental confusion, that if you sit with it long enough, and usually the strategy is stillness. If you sit still long enough, soon the waters around you will clear and you'll be able to see to the bottom, right? Like imagine you're standing in a pond and you're trying to understand, well, what's going on? Who else is in this pond with me, right? Unless there's imminent danger. The strategy is really to stand still so that you can actually see to the bottom because the mud can settle. But if you're stirring around and moving around and you're like grasping and like falling over, I hope I'm painting a comical picture for you because that's really what it can feel like right now. Like kind of like, what the heck's going on here? We have to come to that stillness, let it all settle in, and then we can find ourselves. Then we know where we are. Then slowly we start to receive the download of why what is happening is happening. So that's a big invitation from last week. We had Sun Jupiter conjunction at the beginning of the week, and then we had a first quarter moon March 10th in Gemini, which was a lot of integrating duality, seeing the split. I don't know about you, but I've been really witnessing like there's multiple levels of reality, and you can be in the grocery store and you can pretty much guarantee that everybody around you is having a different experience, living in a different world. Right. And it was really noticeable to me this past week with that first quarter moon in Gemini. So maybe reflecting on what's been going on for you in that realm. What opportunities have you had to integrate, potentially integrating dualities or reflecting on other points of view? There's also a really big energy that comes up with a first quarter moon in Gemini. So speaking of lunar phases, we're still working within the energy of the new moon in Pisces that happened almost, about a week and a half ago. Early March. And then last week we had the first quarter moon in Gemini. And then this coming week, we're going to have on March 18th, March 17th, 18th energy, we're going to have the full moon in Virgo. So as we're in this waxing period, we're going to start to receive more information. All of the things that have been confusing, that we're like, what the heck's going on? We tend to understand more of that around the full moon, because it comes to full illumination, it comes to full light. Whatever the problem is, or the issue, or whatever we're trying to set intention around or manifest, it usually comes to its fullest culmination around the full moon time. And so that's what we have to look forward to for this week ahead. So generally speaking, we are in deep, deep waters. We are in Pisces. We are just about to enter Aries season with the equinox next week, but we're in this cosmic soup place where it's kind of like the universe is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at us. And we get this sometimes very difficult, but very necessary opportunity to dissolve anything that's in the way between us and our higher selves, anything that's in the way between us and spirit, God, goddess, whatever your way of connecting with the divine. There's an opportunity to really just blow those doorways open. This could also look like leaning more into your intuition in ways that you have never before, receiving information and then being able to understand these big picture energies in a way that you may have never before. So I'm wondering if that's something you're experiencing. Are you feeling like your intuition is being blown open? Do you feel like you're seeing more? Are you having more vivid dreams? It's a really potent time to be doing dream journaling. So I'm going to list off some of the transits that we had last week. So I mentioned that first quarter moon, but before that, we had Mercury enter Pisces. And Mercury is going to be playing a big role. And some are mentioning, having mental breakdowns, feeling ungrounded. Those actually sound very Mercury in Pisces, especially if you tend to be a more logical person on the regular, if you tend to be more left-brained, more practically minded. When Mercury is in Pisces, it can be very unhinging. It's pretty much Mercury's least favorite place to be, because Mercury is logic. Mercury is how we understand and rationalize things and make sense of things with our logical mind. But Pisces is like the antithesis of logic, right? Pisces is like universal, outside this body, outside this world awareness of all that is. And it is confusing as hell if you don't have a strategy in place. So it's a really, really potent time to nail down your intuitive strategy, nail down your practice that's going to keep you grounded, because everything is lifting off right now. So we had Mercury enter Pisces last week, March 9th. And so in its highest form, right? Because it's not all bad. Some people have natal Mercury in Pisces, so we definitely don't want to alienate those people. Some of my favorite people who are very, very good communicators have Mercury in Pisces. So just because a planet is in detriment or debilitated by essential dignity doesn't mean that the person, is not, not communicating well or something like that. It just typically means somebody with natal Mercury in Pisces is very intuitive. And so it's like, if you are more used to that energy, you're going to flow with that energy, usually more gracefully. So if you have strong Pisces in your chart, let me know in the comments, because you are the people who are here in this now moment, really being called forward in a very immediate sense, because we have Mercury in Pisces, Sun in Pisces, Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. Like, it's a big Piscean energy right now. And the people who are good at it already are going to walk everybody else along the path, right? Sometimes when we're on the process of learning to open up our psychic gifts, we need a little bit of hand holding. We need to know specifically, what do you do to stay grounded? What are your protection practices? How do you differentiate? Oh, this is a big one. How do you differentiate intuition from fear? That is a huge one. So that's the invitation. That's the question for you while we're working with this. So we also had last week Vesta enter Aquarius. Vesta is the goddess asteroid of sacred service and devotion. And so, where we have Vesta in our natal chart is very much showing us, well, what are we most devoted to? And how are we here to serve? And serve the goddess might be a way to put it, but really it's like, what are you devoted to? What are you committed to? And in what way are you keeping the sacred hearth fire alive? That's very Vesta energy. And so Vesta in Aquarius is suggesting there's a level of committing to what's going on in the collective, looking at your fellow humans. I'm going to move my mic a little closer. I just realized it's kind of far away. Looking at humanity. What's the story? What's the situation with humanity right now? And how can you sort of turn your gaze in the direction of humanity in a way that is contributing something? There's a lot going on in the Aquarius field. Also, we have an Aquarius stellium that we're working with throughout last week and coming into this week as well. All right, let's take a look at some of these comments. Yeah, so we've got, Starflower is going to have, if you have Sun at 27 Pisces, you are going to have the full moon right opposing your Sun, because the Sun will be at 27 Pisces. So happy solar return, happy almost birthday. And you're going to have the full moon exactly opposing. So that's very, very personal for you in that case. Having that Jupiter square the Sun and moon, square from 27 Gemini, that is a really big mutable energy. So mutable energy is very spirally. It's like you are able to hold space for all of the different kinds of emotions, the different perspectives, really good at integrating multiple experiences, relativity of truth, being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, kind of thing. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry your husband had to be taken to the ER. My husband had to go to the ER too. He had a wild allergic reaction, which was very scary. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Hopefully he's okay. Ooh, Mars-Venus conjunction, 29 degrees Pisces with Ceres. That is, okay, so that's a really big lifetime journey of bringing pretty much every single relationship that you've ever had to completion. Is this your last life here, Erin? Would you say that? I don't know. I'm mostly kidding. But usually when you see those kinds of aspects, like a 29 degrees of any sign is like you're mastering it. But 29 degrees of Pisces, it's like bodhisattva level in relationships. Ooh, a 12th house, Sun, Venus, Mercury would operate similarly to Pisces. So you probably feel very at home in this energy. Like it's natural, depending on the sign, of course, but that 12th house having a strong affinity to connecting with spiritual values. Yeah, so welcome to this beautiful chaos that is life right now from wherever you are. And just knowing, like, if you're in a time where you're feeling a lot of ups and downs, like, it feels, if you do tarot, it feels very much like Two of Pentacles, like he's the juggler. I feel like that's what we're all being asked to do in a lot of ways. I actually pulled a couple cards for what would be most supportive for people tonight. And I pulled the 9 of Pentacles and the 3 of Swords. So I pulled this in the conscious realm. So in the conscious level of intention, how can you be more independent? How can you focus on what's really good for you? I actually think this is very connected to the full moon in Virgo happening March 18th. So a lot of how can you be in your highest independence, trusting yourself, trusting your worthiness. That's a really big theme right now with the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, generally speaking. And then the full moon in Virgo is like, how can you release anywhere that you feel inferior or not good enough? And then how might that contribute to what you're creating in the realm of abundance and prosperity? And then this 3 of Swords, I think this really comes up with the strong energy that we're going to have with the Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. And I'll share a little bit about that in a moment. But forgiveness, unconditional love, maybe even pretty consciously doing some shadow work with the South Node in Scorpio and saying, where have I been betrayed? Where have I sort of, had really hard experiences? Where have I given away power? Where have I been hurt? How can we, come to a greater level of independence despite the hurts? How can we bring forgiveness? So that feels really strong. Okay, seeing a lot of affirmation in the comments. Okay, so if we think about what we have going on, okay, so let me just sum up what we had last week and take this and then do some reflecting on it. Like, look at what came up for you, look back in your calendar. What came up for you with the Jupiter Sun conjunction? That was last weekend, March 5th, 6th, 7th. That was very strong energy at that time. Jupiter Sun is like new vision, new purpose. So did you have some sort of new vision, new purpose sort of seed itself last week? It might not be coming full on to fruition yet, because conjunctions are similar to a new moon energy. It's like the beginning of something, and it's seeded and it starts to make its way through and make its way more known as we actually come away from the conjunction. So that happened at the beginning of last week. We had Mercury enter Pisces March 9th. So what came up for you, or what has been emerging for you in the dream space? Where can you do intentional dreaming and intentional forgiveness, almost like looking for it? Like, where can I forgive today? Might be a really good question to wake up and ask right now, because that's the energy, that's the opportunity. What was coming up for you March 10th with that first quarter moon in Gemini? Have you noticed what are your dualities that you are here to integrate, and realizing like what you do, what work you do in that space, it translates to the collective. Kind of like a butterfly flapping its wings over here can create, a hurricane over here. You doing your own healing work, even in your own small corner, even if you're a hermit, right? You doing your own work makes a big difference over here. Okay, Vesta entered Aquarius also last week. Where have you found your attention and focus shift, especially in perhaps what you are saying about what's going on in the collective? It's very much like words cast spells. What do you tend to say about people? Is it positive, right? If there's something that you'd like to see people, and I'm talking about like the general people that you might not know, but the collective, humanity, what would you like to see shift? What's your sort of positive focus vision for humanity? And then making sure that you're speaking that way about people, even people that you don't know. And then we're going to come up. So just that's all last week. Now shifting into this week and what's coming. So next we have the Sun conjunct Neptune. That's going to be March 13th. This is going to be very much the dissolving the barriers to your own awakening. Where are you dissolving the barriers to your own awakening? And this is going to be at 22 degrees, 52 minutes of Pisces. So you can just think, generally speaking, where do you have Pisces? And all of this will be true. Like, it will be this sort of disillusionment process in that whole Piscean realm for you. You can also think about where you have Virgo, the opposite sign, or where you have Gemini, Sagittarius, because those are the square signs. So they'll all be activated in this way too. Like, I have my sun is at 21 degrees Sagittarius. And so this is a square, a pretty hardcore square within 2-degree orb. So I am very much experiencing this dissolution of beliefs that don't serve me. And I can see it almost immediately. Like, the minute that I drop a belief that doesn't serve me, something immediately shifts in my outer world. And I'm so grateful. So just try that on, like, experiment with that. Experiment with, like, what are the beliefs that are limiting me? What vision or what worldview have I held? Because that's also part of this Sun conjunct Neptune and Pisces. What are the worldviews? The beliefs about sort of this bigger question, like, what are we all doing here? Like, where have I formed beliefs about that I can drop, that I can let go, or that I can stay open to, oh, what's another way of looking at this? And then immediately seeing something outside of me shift. If you've had anything come up like that, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so now if we move into the week a little further, March 15th, we're going to have asteroid Psyche at 10 degrees Virgo, opposite Mercury at 10 degrees Pisces. So this is very much about using our words. Mercury to bring us closer to love in all ways. And this also with Psyche retrograde in Pisces, this might bring us into connecting with old lovers, perhaps remembering experiences that we had in previous relationships or just in the past, in current relationships, especially around anything that we've said or how we've communicated. It's a really good time to make amends with yourself around how you speak and bring forgiveness and healing to your past self, knowing that you did the best that you could have done at that time, and that every day is a new day and a new opportunity to bring more unconditional love, forgiveness, healing in relationships. And this goes for all kinds of relationships, especially where you have Virgo Pisces, because we're also having the full moon in Virgo, which is going to bring up the exact same energies. So what Virgo can do when we're being inundated, right? We're like in a tidal wave of psychic information with Pisces, the Pisces stellium that we're working with. So there's a lot to wade through. But the full moon in Virgo can bring discernment and focus to what is being downloaded. So we can start to separate the wheat from the chaff. What energy and emotions are really ours and what are not? And what can we do to release the energy that we don't need to hold on to? As much as full moons are potent times for culmination and really witnessing, oh, like this is what I created for this cycle, they're also really good times to release energy that we don't need to hold on to. So there can be immense opportunity for forgiveness, releasing guilt, shame, inferiority, anywhere that we feel not good enough or less than, because these are all the shadows of Virgo. So anywhere where we feel like we're not good enough, not enough this, not enough that, right? Anywhere that we feel less than. So setting intentions for this coming full moon, making it centered on the fact that you are already exactly all that you need to be. Even though there's always room for improvement, you are already perfect as you are. How can you hold space for being your best and also realizing that you're already always enough just by being you? It's about balance and releasing any critical voices coming from within you or from those around you, or criticizing others too. So we are all doing this work together. It's really a potent time for shaking loose any limiting voices from within or from without. We also have Venus in Aquarius, square Uranus in Taurus, coming up March 19th. So there's something really wanting to be liberated in our value system, particularly in how we connect with our communities. So you might want to notice, pay attention to how certain things have shifted in your community. I know for me, I'm witnessing a lot of regulations being lifted, mandates being lifted. There's a very strong energy of freedom and joy in the air. It's palpable. I know that there's still a lot that has been unaddressed that needs to be addressed. But there's that energy still, the hopefulness, the optimism. I know this tends to come too when we get closer to the equinox or to spring. So how is it feeling for you in your community? And what does that allow you to shift in your worldview? Because it's like a time of coming out of the hermit cave in many ways. And so that might feel really easy for you. And if so, wonderful. Congratulations. I hope you're enjoying it all. But for others, it might feel very difficult because there's still a lot to process. There might be shock, there might be pain, there might be loss. From all that's happened in the past couple years. So you might need to navigate your way back out into the light with baby steps and being really, really gentle with yourself. So Venus in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus is really interesting because this is a mutual reception energy, meaning Venus is in Uranus's sign, Aquarius, and Uranus is in Venus's sign, Taurus. So even though they're a square, and squares typically bring tension, they typically make it a challenging relationship. So even though it's a square, it's actually a more easeful square because it's kind of like, imagine you're babysitting, maybe it's a sister or something like that. Let's just say you're sisters and you have two kids and you're babysitting each other's kids. Even if you typically don't like them, they have your kid. So you're going to be extra nice to the kid you're watching and they're going to be extra nice. So it's like when they're in mutual reception, they tend to be more supportive. It's like when you're hosting each other's favorite children, you're going to be more supportive because you know that it's like they're holding yours too. So even though it's a square, it's kind of like a more easeful square, especially because Venus tends to bring more ease and grace and beauty. So even in a square, Venus is going to allow it to be easier if you lean into how it can be made easier for you. So it's kind of a big energy to sit with, but I'm really I'm curious to see how it's going to play out, and we'll be here again next Friday to recap all of this. So it'll be nice to do that experimentation and see how this Venus square Uranus feels. That will be exact March 19th. And then March 20th, we will have the sun entering Aries. So looking at where you have Aries in your chart, noticing that this will be a place for you to put your focus, to put your intention, to put your energy. And wherever we have the sun transiting, we are receiving we're receiving energy, and we're being refueled in that area. So really soak it in. And the sun is also exalted in Aries, meaning the sun is very happy in Aries. So how can you allow even more joy and innocence to flood into your life? That's the homework for Aries season. And that's really the question. So as we're in this ending time, realizing that every ending is a new beginning. Every ending of a cycle, we're beginning a new cycle simultaneously. So there's so much germinating under the surface. We're closing out the cycle. We're giving thanks, and we're ready. We're ready to take a fresh breath. We're ready to step out in a new way. So all of this, I hope this helps you to really sit with and process all that has come up for you in the past week, and start to feel a little bit into your strategy for the coming week. And if you like this, if you'd like to lean into more of this work, I'll be back here again typically every Friday night. Next week, I'm doing it on Thursday because there's a sister circle that I'll be joining the Friday night. So I've got to do my own personal sister circle next Friday night, but I'll be here Thursday night, March 17th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time if you want to join me for more recap and astro strategy. And otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me live. It's lovely to share energy with you. And if you're watching the replay, I'd love to hear from you about what resonates. And also, if you have any questions, then I can consider them in what I prepare for next week as well. All right. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, beautiful night, wherever you are. Okay. See you next time.